Restrepo. You're watching Marco's Music Show. This is my first episode doing the research so you don't have to. And today I got a nice little episode about what is it about? Today's episode is about racist 1950s crowds. And this one in particular is about, there's this clip going around of Frankie Lymon. Hold on, let's find that clip so I can give y'all the proper context. Frankie Lymon was a 1950s superstar, a teen pop idol, if you will. And, you know, a little context. I'll give you a little more context about this as we go on, but it's important to note that he was a very popular star. And at this point, he was a little past his prime, which is crazy because he was still a kid. I think he might have been 18 at this point. Well, anyway, so Frankie Lymon performs Little Bitty Pretty Ones in front of a audience of Karen. So you already see with this title, with the title of this video that it's sort of loaded already with, you know, the perception that they want you to think about. So obviously with the use of the word Karens, they want you to know that, hey, this is, you know, racially charged. The crowd is not having it. Let me play this real quick just so that we know what we're looking at here.
Sets are not the only things that can be brought back and used again through ingenuity and a little rearranging. This particular tune is not a new one. It was brought back and it's healthier and bigger than ever. It's called Little Bitty Pretty One, ladies and gentlemen.
And just a little context, this song wasn't original for him. It was already done, as he said right there. But, you know, his in the 1950s, they talk very straightforward and very proper, so you might have missed what he's alluding to. Obviously, in the context of this time, you would have known exactly what he was alluding to.
Gentlemen, Frankie Lymon.
First of all, I want to note this very Luciferian-looking statue behind him. Like, what is up with that? It's like the Statue of Liberty with devil horns or something like that. I tried looking in to see what that was, and I couldn't really. I asked AI and everything. I couldn't really get a good idea of what this set design was all about. But clearly, it has something to do with, like, Latin and law, and I don't know. You see her face. I mean, she looks like she's into it. She looks like, you know, awkward. You see all these plays. They're clapping, though. They're definitely clapping. She looks very unimpressed. She's looking around to see what other people think. She's happy. He's into it, clearly. He's a born performer right here on the screen. Young Frankie Lymon. Look at them. They're all clapping on beat. They're definitely clapping on beat. They're enjoying themselves to some extent. That little kid who was tired of standing, but I mean, he jumped back to it. He noticed the cameras on him, and he got back to his senses. So anyway, that's the clip in question. You know, the fan looked a little like, you know, they looked a little like conservative. I don't know if they looked like they were being racist or anything like that. They just looked a little conservative, which for the time was, you know, that's typical of how, you know, white folks would have acted in the 1950s. But anyway, so my goal here is to, because of what I know about that time period and the way people had sort of like canned reactions to things, I just wanted to like sort of like compare and contrast with other performances of the time to see if that was really like a racist feel going on or if it's just a product of the time. So anyway, let's do a little background information about what was going on in this clip or in that time period. Just like give some context about everything. Who is Frankie Lymon, first of all? Frankie Lymon was born September 30th, 1942 in Harlem, New York. He was raised working class, singing in church and on street corners. That was like typical for back then for people trying to church and street corners, a little doo-wop thing going on. By the age of 12, he had joined a local vocal group that would later be called Frankie Lymon and the Teenagers. That's the group where he would have all his success. He died on February 27th, 1968, at only age 25 from a heroin overdose in his friend's grandmother's bathroom in Harlem. So he died. He began and ended in the same place. At the time, he had recently signed a new record deal and was preparing a potential comeback. So that's sad. Sad to hear Frankie. So some of his key successes in his life. In 1956, at just 13 years old, Frankie co-wrote and led the vocals on Why Do Fools Fall in Love, which, you know, is a pretty cool song. Why does the rain fall from up above? Why do fools fall in love? Why do they fall in love? For those of you who don't know that, you should go look it up. Why Do Fools Fall in Love? Hit number 1 on the R&B charts, number 6 on the Hot 100, and it was also a top 10 hit in the UK. So this guy was an international star at the time, at just 13 years old. Crazy. The Teenagers had other hits like I Want You to Be My Girl, which was a top 20 hit. I'm Not a Juvenile Delinquent, and Goody Goody, another top 20 hit. Frankie, to his own credit, was one of the first black teen idols to reach the mainstream and a racially mixed audience in America and the UK. So very accomplished young man for the time. And basically, he would go on to influence people like Michael Jackson, obviously Stevie Wonder, who was also a young wonderkin who started his career not many years after that. You know, he was on the piano doing his thing. And Frankie also appeared in several rock films like Rock, Rock, Rock in 1956, Mr. Rock and Roll in 1957. There was even a biopic about him where Lorenz Tate played him and symbolized the fusion of doo-wop, pop, and the youthful rebellion. Let's take a look at some of these things. So here we go. Why Do Fools Fall in Love? This was the movie that Lorenz Tate starred in. They used to show it on BET all the time. And it was a pretty good movie. It basically revolved around Frankie's character, like involved in all these different women, and his estate, you know, and he like basically was like this womanizer and had all these problems like drugs, and in the end of the movie, like the estate is divided up, or they all attempt to try to get a piece of his estate, saying they were all married to him. Eventually I'm gonna do a series where I like go back and look at all these like biopics and stuff like that, biopics, and determine what is true and what is fiction about them. So that'll be a series coming up. This will definitely be one of the ones that I cover. Definitely a classic. But anyway, what were the other things? It said something about rock. My ball is a shot callers with it. I see Frankie Lymon right there on the cover of right there, rock. And I'm assuming, let's see, what did he do in this movie? Let's type Frankie Lymon and the Teenagers was their film debut. What did they do in this? They performed a song called Baby Baby. Okay. No need to look into that right now. And then another one. So that's a little bit about the state. So basically at the point of this performance in 1960, by the time of the Beach Nut performance, and by the way, Beach Nut, that's a funny name, right? It's actually named after bubblegum, if you can believe it. I don't know why you wouldn't believe it, but here is what it's named after. Some beech nut gums. I guess a beech nut is a nut corporation. I guess it's a baby food corporation now, whatever. But here is a little ad for beet nuts. So this is for sale. It's a nice metal sign for beech nut gum. So anyway, this would have been what this show was about, you know, and everything to this day. It's not like it's something new, but you know, things have endorsements, and this was no different. So that is what this show was named after, beech nut gum, if you were curious about that. So anywho, so yeah, at that point, Frankie was 17, and he was no longer a child prodigy with the high pitched voice. So basically, here, let me just so y'all can get a little look, just for context. So this is young Frankie. This is what Frankie would have looked like when he was a child, when he was 13, I guess, right here. He looks even younger than 13. It's like you don't really find people that look like Frankie anymore. This guy is sort of a relic of the time. This kind of look, especially with the little haircut. I don't know, but do y'all know anybody who looks like Frankie Lymon today? I feel like he has like an old face. Like this kind of look just isn't around anymore. But anyway, at a certain point, he grew up a little bit, and this is what he would have looked like. This is actually when he got older, so this is past the age of 18. I guess up until 18, he continued to look like a little kid. So we got that. And here he is with the teenagers, with his teenagers. With his teenagers. There goes Frankie with his teenagers. He had recently left the teenagers. He was 17, by the way, 17 at this performance. He had recently left the teenagers and was struggling as a solo act. He really hadn't had the same kind of success that he was used to from the age of 13 years old. And that could get stressful when you're a little kid and you're expected to like bring all these hits and nothing's working. So his recent single, which we already heard, Little Bitty Pretty One, had peaked at number 58 on the chart. So that's not necessarily a hit at all. I mean, it's not a top 40, but I mean, number 58 is nothing to shake at. It means people definitely heard it. He was no longer a fixture on the charts, and he had started facing personal struggles like the drug stuff, obviously the stuff with the women as the movie paints it. So he was going through it, man. By 1960, the public, the general public still remembered him, but he was sort of seen as washed. He was a little washed up. In the industry, he was thought to be troubled, and talented, and not troubled, although talented, and not really worth the headache. So, where he was once one of the brightest stars in American pop, by the 1960s, he was caught between eras, too old to be a child prodigy and too troubled to be the next big thing. Right? So that sort of like creates, the context. So like when we say like, okay, it's racist, we got to understand that there's other things going on here. Maybe he just wasn't that popular, So that's something to consider as we look ahead. So we already saw that performance. So I want to show y'all some of these, some of the sensationalism that has popped up in regards to this, because, people really, these days, people like being upset about things. And it doesn't serve us that well, but, it's always good to know when people are being sincere or when things are just sort of sensationalism. And I hope to like make that a little clear. So here, if I can pause that real quick. All right, I'm gonna bring y'all over here. Let's let you take a look at this. All right, so this is the clip. This is one of the first clips that I saw. Imagine being so racist that you can't even enjoy an iconic bop. And it's sort of showing the same thing I just showed you, but colorized. And it's just having like these sort of placid faces of all these white women on the screen, and just like sort of, so you read this and then obviously your mind goes to like, oh man, look at them. They're so angry that he's black. The audience reaction to Frankie Lymon singing Little Pretty One in 1969 on his first solo TV appearance. So yeah, that's true that it was his first solo TV appearance. So that's one way that they colored that. All right, and let's colored. Okay, and then let's see what else we got here. One that I saw specifically where I don't know where to find it is let me see if I have it somewhere over here. Let's see, Frankie Lymon, racist crowd. Oh, here it goes. Okay, let's see if I can get that a little bigger. Okay, this is on TikTok. TikTok is the bastion for misinformation. It's by an account called Black Status Symbol. Let's see if I can pop up over here. What are we looking at? Are we looking at the same thing? All right, here we go. All right, so look at this. It says white audiences, or it says white audience reaction to finding out their favorite artist, Frankie Lymon, is black. So obviously we know this is, it's racially charged, and it's designed to like create, this feeling inside of you like, oh man, it's always been bad. And yeah, these faces do look very, but it colors the moment because now we know the reality of the fact is that he just wasn't that popular at the time, and everybody already knew he was black because he's 17 here. It's been 4 years. He was in movies. He was in everything, so they knew he was black. It's not about that. They're just like it's just like seeing somebody who is like 4 years old and they used to be popular. So you're not going to be as excited. But I mean, they're all still clapping. And I'll give them that. They're all still clapping. So anyway, that's just a little example of the sensationalism going on here. Where'd my screen go? So anyway, y'all get y'all get the vibes of why this became viral. So anyway, this episode aired August 13th, 1960. The show was created by Dick Clark, the famous host of American Bandstand. It aired on ABC from 1958 to 1960 on Saturday evenings. It was structured like a variety show with lip sync performances, musical guests, and skits, all performed in front of a live teen studio audience. Sponsored by Beech Nut Gum. It was a part of a larger movement to market pop culture to America's youth. This was a mainstream youth-targeted music show designed to present rising and established stars in a clean-cut and controlled environment. That's right. Okay. And real quick, y'all already saw Dick Clark on that thing, but Dick Clark was a pretty big deal at the time. And if y'all know, so Ed Sullivan, obviously Ed Sullivan was so if Ed Sullivan, obviously, this show is patterned after someone like Ed Sullivan who, introduced the world to the Beatles. He's known for that, and Elvis and all this kind of stuff. So it was just another one of those kind of things. So something to note, just in terms of the popularity of the time, the other people who performed on that same episode was a guy, Jim Reeves, who at the time had a crossover hit called He'll Have to Go, which had hit number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 earlier that year. Dion and the Belmonts, who were a big deal with their 1959 hit Teenager in Love, which was number 5 on the charts. Each night I ask the stars up above, why must I be a teenager in love? All right, so that was number 5. Paul Evans, known for 7 Little Girls Sitting in the Back Seat, that's a big old car, had a top 10 hit in 1959. Bobby Comstock had a minor success with Tennessee Waltz, number 52 on the Hot 100. While Frankie Lymon was still, a recognizable star, like this right here, there's 4 people on the bill who already have better performing songs than him at the time. So the odds were stacked up against him. It's not racism necessarily. It's just, popularity at the time. So, the audience was primarily teenage girls. They were often chosen to match the aesthetic of the show. And the TV producers canned their responses. They told them when to cheer. They told them when to, you know what I mean? So, and obviously this was the 1950s. So nobody was trying to show out or act crazy or, it was really relatively recent for something like Elvis to make girls just absolutely lose their mind. That just wasn't common. So if you were going to get on TV, you want to be seen as respectable and calm and collective. Maybe I loved gum chewing, made them look a little crazy, but and then also, for those who don't know, this was 1960, so it was like a flashpoint of the civil rights movement, which is a reason why people can sort of insert racism into there, because racism was certainly a thing going on at the time. It was extremely prevalent. Jim Crow laws were still in effect. Schools were just now being integrated as of 1954. But in practice, many remained segregated. Interracial dating was still taboo and dangerous in some parts of the countries. So white girls would be a little bit tentative about, swooning or trying to look too attracted to a black performer. So keep that in mind. So, and as we're building this up, there is racial components, but it's not as like simple as just saying like, oh, look how they're reacting, they're so racist, you know. So black performers on national TV were often handled carefully, especially if their presence might make white audiences uncomfortable. And you know, it says that, but I think everybody generally acted very like uncontroversial. You know, Elvis was the first person to come on TV like gyrating his hips, and you know, to a point where they had to like move the camera up on the Ed Sullivan Show. You know, so everybody was expected to act a certain way. It wasn't just like they wanted black performers to act a certain way. And just for a little more context, at the time of the performance, the things topping the chart were Elvis Presley's "It's Now or Never." Speaking of Elvis, Brenda Lee's "I'm Sorry," Chubby Checker's "The Twist," which was about to explode in popularity, and Connie Francis and the Everly Brothers, Ricky Nelson were also dominant on the charts. And this was also, remember at this time, it was pretty big for white musicians to cover black songs because, you know, there was still a thing like called race music. So it wasn't like the country wasn't 100% comfortable in just like, you know, like completely putting their dollars into black artists. Not because they were racist necessarily, but because the record companies didn't think that people would buy into it. So Motown had just launched, but it hadn't fully broken through yet, and soul and funk were still underground at the time. So a lot of white audiences were consuming black music through white faces, like Elvis. All right, so here's the fun part. So here's where we're going to start getting to looking at, let's see if there's anything else I had up in these tabs that I need to look at before. All right, so the first one that we're going to look at, let's go in order of date. So we're going to look at a couple performances from 1959. The earliest we got is, let's go first with Jackie Wilson. This is going to be on March 21st, 1959. Let's check it out. All right, so we're going to take a look at these and just see how the audience is reacting to these people, okay? So this is March 21st, 1959, Beach Nut Show, Jackie Wilson, Mr. Excitement. Look, I just want to point out, look at look at them little people in the crowd. They went crazy when they heard his name. So that's already working against the racism angle. Look at that. I don't know if y'all can see that. That little girl right here in the corner just going crazy right behind that plaque. And you can see Jackie doing his damn thing. My pillow never dry of lonely teardrops. My man's just dripping aura. Check him out. You see a little shout? Hey, hey. Now this is a performer. Look, his performance is so electrifying. They're not even showing the crowd. They just like keep the camera on him. We don't want to see nothing else. This is quite a Saturday evening right here. Just say you will, say you will. Oh, look at that. Bang. My man got the moves. Hey, hey. Man, Jackie Wilson. My man transcended racism. All right, so let's see. Okay, there's not much more crowd reaction here. We go to the end for that. And the crowd is enthralled and very excited. Okay, so Jackie Wilson, as of March 21st, 1959, I guess he transcended race with that, you know. It was a big hit at the time, you know, so people, they wanted to see it. The kids were excited. All right, let's go next. Dion and the Belmonts. We got April 4th, 1959. Let's see how the crowd is reacting to these young white men, these young teen pop idols. All right, Dion and the Belmonts. So now he's talking to the audience.
Is there anybody in the house knows where Dion and the Belmonts are? With a brand new and a teenager in love.
This is a bop right here. Look, they got them in the crowd. Look, they got the crowd going crazy though. I will say this is the craziest they've gone. But first of all, so a little context. Jackie Wilson is an adult, So and these are teeny boppers. So in regardless, they didn't really show what the crowd was doing during Jackie, but they're going absolutely insane for these kids. This breaks my heart. And this song is made for the boppers. I mean, it's called Teenager in Love. They're clapping hella off beat though. I love the way these guys used to perform. He looked like a mix between Paul McCartney and Frank Sinatra in the face. Look at that sway. Man, swaying. Well, if you want to... Oh, look at the black guy right here. You see the black guy right here with the spectacles on? 1959, eh? They're just looking up to these guys like gods. I wonder what these PA systems were like, because they're lip syncing clearly. And I guess that was an accepted practice because I doubt any of these people behind them can, obviously they're not singing for real. Or maybe they are singing and they can hear them, but they wouldn't be able to hear them that well with everybody being so loud. So I wonder if it was like sort of bouncing all over the place. It would have been nice to see what this was like in person. Oh, let's see. So I think this crowd was conclusively into it. This is the craziest they've gone so far. All right, let's see what is next. We got, so that was 4/4/59. Next we got okay, well, let's go with Dion and the Belmonts again. The next one, this is February 27th, 1960. So we're in the next year now. And let's see what kind of reaction they're getting this time around and what they perform.
That's Lloyd Price.
Lloyd Price, man. And Lloyd Price, I think we got a Lloyd Price video in here, but you just see how that crowd reacted to that Lloyd Price. And I don't know, they seem pretty excited. And that's a very black man, so. Once again, getting a very good response. Dressed very nice. There appears to be another Belmont this time. Now there's 3 Belmonts and 1 Dion. A nice ballad. The energy, I mean, is going to be down. I mean, it's a ballad. All right, so we could see, this is the first time I've seen actual footage of someone singing, which, is, it's a ballad, so they got to focus on something because Dion and the Belmonts are not giving a very riveting performance. Another singer fixing her hair. She's like, am I going to get on camera? Oh, this 4th Belmont looks a little out of place over there on the right. I like the whole Twin Tower aspect of short, too tall. This guy's sort of throwing off the vibes, but I guess they needed another harmony. And he doesn't have the right suit on. What's up with his, what is he wearing? Is this like a kid they snuck on stage? Who is this kid? See, there's an adult. She's not singing along. I guess maybe she's not an adult, but she looks a little older than the last couple kids. This song is sort of ass, though. I'm gonna be honest with you. There's nothing standout about this track. Let's just get some more crowd footage. She knows the words. Right, let's rush through this one. That song sucks. All right. I don't know why that was so popular, but they liked it. They really liked it. Okay. So get crowd reaction so far. Obviously Dion and the Belmonts rocking with that first one. They were really excited to see Jackie Wilson, but we didn't see too much crowd there. What do we got next? Let's go. We got 227. Let's go. Okay, we got, I can't do math. I can't count. We got 7:23. Okay, so next we got Everly Brothers on July 9th. So this is some summertime fun in the middle of the heat. Let's see how these young kids act to the Everly Brothers, which were a rousing vocal duo, good-looking brothers.
Strangely enough, I had to ask
Not brothers, but brothers, literal brothers.
to me that three had hit after hit after hit. They got
They sure
in the
did.
top 100 right now, and one of the best-selling albums.
I'm not sure if I'm familiar with this song. When Will I Be Loved? Let's see, wait, hold on, I didn't even get to.
The name of it. Here are the Everly Brothers.
The crowd looks pretty excited. They look placid for a second. Okay, I know this song. It's funny enough, so quick story about this song. When will I? So I did a TV show starring Kevin Bacon, where basically I recorded an album, and my engineer, he hit me up and he was like, hey, would you like to play bass on a TV show? And I'm like, I'm not really a bass player, but I was like, sure, I would love to be on a TV show. So I went out there and we were in this fake band, and it's this show about Kevin Bacon fighting demons or zombies or something. And basically this is the song that we had to learn. It was for this lady from a group called Sugarland, or what's the name of that group? I don't know. Her name was Nettles. Hold on, let me get my information right. Natalie Nettles, Jennifer Nettles. Her name was Jennifer Nettles of Sugarland, I believe, and she's like a pretty big star in her own right. This lady, let's see if you can see her. So we were in her band, and she was like his ex, and anyway, we had to play that song, and I guess they were doing a Linda Ronstadt version, but apparently this was an Everly Brothers song. I didn't know. It's crazy they have that slapback echo on the audience clapping. A very interesting effect. There were some good songwriters. I really think the Everly Brothers wrote some excellent songs, but eventually they tried to go psychedelic. That's a story for another day, but they were very good. All right, not much crowd audit. Oh, yeah, let's go to the end. See what the crowd's doing. They seem to like it a lot. Sort of a modest reaction. I'd say it's a bit on par with Frankie's crowd. They were a little more excited than Frankie, I will say. All right, let's go to the next one. All right, that was 7-9, and next, okay, we got Roy Orbison. If you don't know Roy Orbison, he's a real cool fellow. He made like a lot of ballady kind of. He had like this real husky kind of voice.
You're a goddess.
Like very like he's like a romantic cowboy. The way he sings, I guess, is a way to describe it. He had a lot of nice songs like "Pretty Woman." That was Roy Orbison. This is a song called "Uptown." I'm not familiar with this song. By the way, the crowd, by far, he had the least excited crowd so far, or maybe right on par with. But it's interesting seeing Roy look like this, because Roy would become known for like a very particular look where he wore all black and he had these shades, sort of like Johnny Cash, where they like developed this like man in black persona. So if you see him right here. Make sure he's on my screen. He has the black shades, the black pompadour, the black jacket, white shirt sometimes, but yeah, he developed a very distinct look. So it's interesting to see him before, I guess before the music industry, or before maybe he decided. I don't know the story of how he came to that look, but before he decided that, you know, this is show business. I can't just be some boring-looking Texan. He even did the The song's nice. It's sort of boring. Let's see if we can fish for more crowd reaction. Here we go. This is what we're looking for. She's like, what the? Her too. These are almost like identical responses to my guy, what's his name? Frankie Lymon. So he just wasn't who he was gonna be yet. Let me see how did this song perform on the charts? Let's see, Uptown. Just for comparison's sake, because right now I'm judging this that he wasn't very popular, so the crowd's response to him is sort of like in accords to that. But also, I would say there's no energy, or there's some energy in this song, but the crowd was clapping a lot more fervently to Itty Bitty Pretty Ones. So we already got, and this is a white man. We got a white man. Crowd reacting worse than they did to Frankie. Even young troubled Frankie, even not so young troubled Frankie. Where's our singles charts? Let's see what Uptown did on the charts, if it beat the 58. Uptown at number 72. So look, people's excitement so far is in correlation with their the chart placement of a song. So that is good to know. So I think that's about it here. Let's see if we see the crowd anymore. But yeah, Roy Orbison's definitely an artist you should check out. He's very, he was a great songwriter, similar to the Everly Brothers. Let's see, When Will I Be Loved? Let's see how that one charted. Everly Brothers. So When Will I Be Loved charted at number 8. So yep, that was a top 10 hit, bro. All right, let's see what we got next. We're almost at the end of this. We got Chubby Checker next, and we already talked earlier about how Chubby Checker, I believe the Twist was a number 1 record. So let's see if this crowd's acting like a number 1. If they're acting like how they acted with Dion and the Belmonts.
Dance sensation in the last 4 years, a thing called the Twist.
Wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, here's Chubby Checker.
Now, I don't know if that audience is canned or not, but it's pretty loud. Come on, baby. I could also say this about this fella, sort of like Frankie. He has like a very antiquated look. It's almost like people don't look like that anymore. He sort of looks like Native American and black together a little bit. I don't know his origin, but people don't look like that no more. Same with Jackie. A lot of people don't look like Jackie Wilson anymore. Look at that. That clap, the clap hitting loud. The clap is on par with Itty Bitty Pretty Ones. This song was sort of mad though, to be honest. Let's see how the crowd looking. Look, they twisting. Look at these old people right here. Oh, look at her. Look at those shoulders popping. Yeah. Oh yeah. And they're having fun. At least when the camera gets on them. There's some smiles. There's some shoulders moving. They don't mind too much that he's a black man dancing. They don't mind too much. He got the nice pompadour too, so he's very unthreatening. I guess that's all we got. Oh, let's go a little further. All right. No, they were into that. That was right up there with who's that? Who was the other one? Dion and the Belmonts. That was right up there with that. Okay, let's close this thing out. Who else we got? And lastly, we got Lloyd Price. Save the best for last. Lloyd Price, he had a great song called Personality with Personality. And plus, you got a great big heart, so over and over, yes, I'll be a fool for you. Something like that. So this is, I'm not sure, he has a song called Question. Before we even start, let's see where this song charted for Lloyd. Just to see if we can like sort of gauge how they will react. My guy Lloyd Price. Look at that. That's a good looking man. It looks like Jamie Foxx a little bit. Can y'all see him? Wait, hold on. Let's move him over here. Let's see. We got a song called Question. And my question is, so he had a number 19 here on the US chart. So another top 20 single. So already doing better than my guy Frankie.
Most successful recording artist.
Hit after hit after hit.
Was one of the latest.
Come on, Lloyd.
Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Lloyd Price.
Yes, sir. They're ready for that guy. I like how they got the set customized for him with the question marks. It's a lot better than Frankie's with the weird library of Satanist, Luciferian Illuminati or whatever the hell he had going on. Look at that guy, man. He's just dripping aura. Where can he sell it? That's the question. This guy's a natural. Just a little snap, man. This dude just farming. Look at that. She's smiling. She enjoying herself. He black as hell, man. That's a black man. She enjoying herself. Maybe she didn't. Maybe that one girl she saw. Oh, I'm on camera. Maybe not enjoy myself that much, but they just caught up in his whole thing, man. This guy got all the drip. Look at him. How could you? How could they not? They cannot resist. Look at this guy. That's a good looking fella. Yes, sir. Look at that little step. Hey, let's go, Lloyd. No, they were feeling that. They were definitely feeling that. So, conclusions, that's everything. That's all the people. So, were the 1950s crowds racist? Or was Frankie Lymon just not that popular, singing old retreads? Real quick, let me look at something real quick. Let me see, when was Little Bitty Pretty Ones originally a hit? Little Bitty Pretty One, I don't jiggle with me. In 1957, a song written by Bobby Day. Who is Bobby Day? Is Bobby Day a white man? Bobby Day. No, okay, Bobby Day. I've heard about this guy. Bobby Day was the one who something about he died early, or no, he didn't die, but he was like in a car crash. Some kind of tragedy befell upon him, and then he didn't get these royalties till a lot later on. But I don't know if he's the one who performed it originally. Let's see. Or was maybe that's the Thurston Harris. The Jackson 5 did it. So Frankie Lymon was the first person to cover this song. So it was a new song. So I guess it was just, maybe they were just tired of him, because it's a nice song. I really like the song. It's like one of the better songs out of the ones that we've heard today, but maybe they just weren't feeling Frankie anymore. Maybe he had like a lot of controversy in the news or something like that. Who knows? But anyway, so in conclusion, I think that it's important when you see things on the internet that are sort of like sensationalize things and try to like be like, oh, make assumptions based on like very anecdotal stuff. It's very important to A, know context, and B, do your own research. Was America racist in the 50s? Yeah. Is America racist now? Yeah, kind of. This country is founded on that. But at the same time, I think if anything sort of has always transcended color lines, is entertainment. Whether that's sports, unlike not like the Boston Celtics weren't doing racist stuff to Bill Russell, but music in particular. I think that there's something that white folks found very exotic about it, and they wanted to borrow from it. They wanted to borrow the swag. They wanted to borrow the aura, and they weren't shy about that. So when you put black faces on stage, black men on stage, black women on stage, they were going to cheer, and they were going to be happy to see them because they knew they had a chance to see greatness. So it's very important to understand the difference between sensationalism and reality. And in this case, the crowd was not being racist. It was just that Frankie was sort of a has-been. And, 58's still a moderate success. The people were clapping. They were into the song. They just weren't that happy to see him. So, it is what it is. Y'all form your own conclusions. What do y'all think? Do y'all think after all that these crowds are racist? Do you think that the the little thing that went viral holds any weight, y'all let me know. But anyway, Marco's Music Show. I'll see y'all next time. Y'all. Oh, what I got? There's stuff I could say. There's something I could say right here. Which one do I want to put on here? Racist crowds? No. Well, I guess they'll have to stay there. But anyway, y'all can check me out on Spotify. Just search Marco Restrepo. Help me get my streams up, so I can fund my life. What I need about 20 million streams to make a minimum wage salary. So y'all go ahead, get started with that. I got this thing called Marco Sing Along. If y'all want to learn to play what's this song? Lonely Teardrops. It's on there. So y'all got to go find it. I don't know if I'll link that. Maybe I will. And what else? Just stay tuned for more episodes of Marco's Music Show and all the interesting topics that I look forward to uncovering for y'all. So, peace, y'all.